Hey, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today we have another first impressions that I'm going to be doing on a palette that I didn't think I was ever going to buy. The Beauty Bay and Jade palette. My girlfriend actually bought this for me as a gift, which was so nice of her. This is what it looks like. It is fucking gigantic. It's so big. I think it's 42 shades. And initially when I was super excited, I love Little Mix so much. And I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see this new palette. And then I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit disappointed by this. Please excuse my hair, I don't know what's going on. By this palette initially because, I mean, it's huge and it's rainbow vibes, you know? Like it gives definitely the vibes and like the look of a rainbow palette, but after seeing other people use it and after looking at the palette myself, I don't know, it doesn't feel quite the same as a rainbow palette to me for whatever reason. Like the Likely Makeup Ugly palette that I just did a first impressions on this week, this to me looks more like a rainbow palette than this other palette does. It definitely has a lot of shades for sure, but I don't know, I'm kind of into it, and a lot of these shades are super beautiful. Obviously you have to like not a rainbow palette, a large palette in order to appreciate this palette or enjoy it. But I was like, do you want to buy me a palette? To my girlfriend, she's like, fine, what is it? And I was like, it's this one. So thank you to my girlfriend for the purchase of this. There's a lot of shades in here, so I'm gonna try to swatch. Well, I'm going to swatch them, but I'm gonna try to fit as many on my arms as I can. I might have to wipe some off. We'll just see how it goes. I will say, like, this is the best palette packaging that I've ever seen Beauty Bay do. Normally I feel like their packaging is just not the best. Like it's what's inside the palettes that is it the most exciting, but this is actually really nice. I really like this packaging, and for being 42 shades, it doesn't feel as big as I maybe thought that it might. They don't waste like any space. It's like pretty compact in here. Alright, so let's just swatch. We'll see how many shades it can fit in my arm and, go from there. So this first shade in the palette is called Good Vibes Only. We gotta have a beige. Beauty Bay has to put at least one beige in all of their palettes, They think that it's essential, so whatever. Then we have the shade Taro, which is a matte. It's like a light peach shade. The shade Dawn, which is a really bright matte orange. It's almost like neon-y. It's kind of like a neon peach. Then we have the shade Red Planet, which is a matte red. The shade Space Jam, which is another really bright, like coral shade. Again, almost neon. The first shimmer in the palette is the shade What's Your Sign, Hun? Which is a metallic, like red with gold sparkle. And then the last shade in this top row is the shade Angel of the North, which is a matte, like burgundy. I actually really like this shade. So this top row is definitely like peachy warm. I feel like this palette benefits from looking at it row by row as opposed to the palette as a whole. So then we have the shade Halo starting on the second row, which is a really beautiful, bright, almost champagne, but it has like a almost pink like hue to it. We have the shade 2222, which is a really bright, like chartreusey shade, like a bright yellowy green. We have the shade Sand Dancer, which is a bright metallic. Oh, I keep doing this. No. Okay, I'm just gonna swatch this. There's a little bit of red on my, right when I'm trying to save space. So ignore that red part of the swatch, but this is basically a bright metallic yellow. Okay, I really gotta make sure to scrub my little phalanges off. Then we have the shade Affirmation, which is another light peach shade, pretty similar to the shade Tarot. And then we have the shade Milky Way, which is a white to pink duochrome. Really pretty, not the most unique shade, but it is really nice. Then we have the shade Ethereal, which is a light pink matte, almost has like a purpley tone to it. And then the last shade in the second row is the shade Natural Beauty, which is another like matte corally peach. So right here is the second row, so definitely a lighter, more pastel almost. Okay, let me just start on the third row. So we have the shade Soulmate, which is like a muted purple shade, almost like a mauvey shade, a matte mauve. The shade Galactic, which is a metallic purple, like metallic fuchsia, I want to say. Let's grab my fingers off. The shade Daydreamer, which is another like purple, light purple. Almost lilac, I want to say. Let me see if I can fit this whole row on my arm. The shade Alien, which is a metallic gold. The shade Retrograde, which is a bright fluorescent pink, which I love. The shade Rose Quartz, which is a, oops, I couldn't have chosen a more awkward place to swatch. This is like it's like a rosy shade with a silver shift, if you can see that at all. And then the last shade is the shade Love Aura. Let's see, let me swatch this here so I can kind of get the shades all together. So this is not the best swatch for me to show you, but it's basically just a bright pink metallic. It doesn't feel overly sparkly or anything, so this little section of my elbow here is the third row, so definitely pinky purpley. So the rows almost seem to have color stories in and of themselves. Alright, so the third row starts with the shade Starry Eyed, which is a beautiful metallic bronze. Then we have the shade Intention, which is another beige. This is like the truest beige, it's basically my skin tone. And then we have the shade Confetti, which is a silver, a really, really bright silver. Then we have the shade Northern Star, which is a matte blue. Beauty Bay really loves a blue. Then we have the shade Sunshine Skin, which I love that name. Another like almost between like a bronze and a copper. The shade Nefertiti, which is a mid-toned neutral brown. And then the last shade in this row is the shade Heritage, right? Yeah. Which is a darker, beautiful chocolate brown metallic. So this is the third row, like warm neutrals, or like just neutrals actually. Neutral browns with a pop of blue. I actually really like that. All right, so we have the 5th row now. It starts off with the shade Capricorn, which is a darker neutral matte brown. The shade Zodiac, which is a like dark greeny base. Oh, okay, hold on. It's like a dark teal with a black base. And then the shade Head in the Clouds, which is like a pastel blue. Swatches well for a pastel. Then we have the shade Horizon, which is another, it's like a bronze, a metallic bronze, really pretty. The shade Serenity, which is another pastel shade, like a pastel mint. I guess mint is pastel, so it's just a mint. I don't know. Then we have the shade Jaded, which is a green, a metallic green, really bright. And then the last shade in this row is the shade Full Moon, which is a light yellow, I guess, but I don't really know how I would use this shade, to be honest. So it feels a little bit light almost to use as like a transition-y shade, but whatever. So here to here is the 5th row. And then the last row starts with this shade Mother Earth, which is, oh, I might have to use this today. It's the most beautiful olive green. The shade Orion, which is another like a matte olive green. I mean, I love that. The shade Chakra, which is a neutral, a light neutral brown. Then we have Celestial, which is a darker blue, matte blue. The shade Crystal Clear, which looks really sparkly. It's a light blue metallic, almost like a silver sheen to it. The shade Tourmaline, which is a matte black. I'm really glad that they included a matte black in here. And then the last shade that I guess I'll swatch on my elbow is the shade Moonlit, which also looks really sparkly. And it is a like smoky blue. And so let's see, here to here is like the last row, it's like blue green. Really like that. So this is actually, I managed to swatch the whole, whoops, as I bump into my back, the whole palette out. I mean, it's a little bit difficult to see, but this is like the vibe. So the top half is definitely like warm toned reds, purples, pinks, and then the bottom half is like blues, greens, and neutrals. I actually, you know what, the more I look at it, the more I swatch it, I really do, and see, the more I really enjoy this palette and feel as though it's not a neutral or not a rainbow palette. It's almost like a half warm, half cool palette, but there's just like a lot of shades. Let me just wipe my arm off before I start. So I'm going to now insert some up-close swatches. We can have some nice in-depth swatches of this palette, see how all the shades look. All my up-close individual swatches are inspired by Lauren Made Beauty. I always want to give her a shout out. And then we will do a first impressions look with this palette. Let's see if I can actually succeed in holding this palette up to show you the shades. The shade, what is this? Chakra? I'm gonna start with the shade Chakra, which is this like neutrally camely brown. I've primed my eyes using the NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base, as I always do, and I have not set my lids, and there's a little bit of concealer in the front part of my eyes. Okay, so I'm just gonna run this through the crease as a initial blending shade. I have had almost exclusively nothing but success using Beauty Bay eyeshadows, so I have high hopes for this. Beautiful. That took me like 10 seconds to blend out. I hope I'm in the middle. I should be. Now I'm going to take the shade Orion, which is this grungy green, beautiful shade, and I'm just gonna put this in my outer corner in my crease. I feel like I can never have too many of these greens. It's like the best color. Delicious, beautiful, all the things. Blended beautifully, love the shade. I'm going to now take this brown called Capricorn. It's this darker neutral brown here. And I'm just going to use this to deepen my crease. Hopefully I can build this up a good amount. And then I'm just going to take this brush that I used the shade Orion on and blend the shade Capricorn out, so you can see that it definitely built really well. All of these shades feel like all the shades that I've used from Beauty Bay before. Very blendable, pigmented, maybe a little bit powdery, but I've always really enjoyed working with Beauty Bay shadows, so these 3 that I've used so far don't feel like an exception. Look at that eye. I mean, I would wear this every day. So I'm not going to cut my crease or anything. I'm just going to go in with shadow on the lid. I'm going to show you what I will use first. So I'm initially going to take this shade called Mother Earth, this green, and then I'm going to take the shade Sunshine Skin in the front part. I'm going to take Mother Earth in the middle of my eye and Sunshine Skin, or no, I take it back. I'm going to take the shade Alien on the inner part of my eye, or am I? Yeah. I'm going to take Mother Earth in the center and Alien on the front part. First, I'm going to use some NYX glitter primer. Just squeeze a little bit on my brush and put this all over my lid, obviously where I want the shadow to go. I don't know where else I would put this. You don't want to put this where you don't want the shadow to go, that's for sure. Okay, so taking Mother Earth on my brush and putting this in the center. I mean, frankly, I probably have a lot of shades that are like this eyeshadow, but it never gets old. I'm just going to wipe off my brush a little bit and then take the shade Alien. And put this on the front part of my eye. Very nice. Very nice. Alien is really bright and sparkly, so is Mother Earth, but Alien definitely has like sparkles in it. And I'm just gonna quickly do the same thing on my other eye. Okay, my camera cut off, so hopefully I didn't miss anything major. So I'm gonna take the shade Orion and just use that to blend into Mother Earth. They're basically the same tone of green, so this is an easy blend. And then I'm going to take a touch of Orion and just blend this through the front part of my eye. And then I'm going to use Capricorn, which was that darker brown, and just deepen my outer corners. And run this over the edge of my, the shadows on my lid. And use this to maybe blend them out a little bit, but they're not as easy to blend, like out the edges when you use glitter glue. Obviously they're kind of glued in place, so. And then I'm going to take the shade Chakra and just lightly blend this over the edges. I'm going to take Mother Earth and Alien on my fingers and use this to intensify the shades on my lid and blend them together. For my lower lash line, I feel like I gotta do a different color because there's so many shades in this palette. Maybe let's go orange. So let's take the shade Dawn, which is this bright, like orangey shade. So I'm just gonna take this and run this all underneath my lower lash line. Look at that. For how bright that shade is, it actually blended out very nicely. And then I'm going to take Capricorn to deepen this up, just to tie things together a little bit better. And then I might take a little bit more of Dawn and just blend this over that brown to make sure that orange is still coming through. And then I'm gonna take the shade Affirmation and just use that to blend the orange out. I'm gonna take the shade Intention, which is this beige, and use this to highlight my brow bone a little bit. And then for my inner corners, what am I gonna use? This is the question. Actually, you know what? Let me take, oh my god, this palette is so hard to hold up. I'm gonna take the shade Star Dancer, which is this bright yellow. So it feels like it kind of goes with the vibes here. I'm just gonna spray my brush and then put this in my inner corners. Or Sand Dancer, sorry, the shade is called. This is really bright and pretty. This is a true like yellow metallic, for sure. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of Alien on my pinky and place this in the front of my lower lash line just to tie my upper and lower lid together. For whatever reason, this like the tone of this Alien shade reminds me a lot of JADE Glow 365. It doesn't have really like a warm base to it. Maybe it has a slight orangey base, but definitely nothing like 365 does. But like the gold shine on it reminds me a lot of the tone of 365 from JADE Glow. There's a lot going on today. There's laundry, there's a beeping truck, so apologies for that. And then lastly, what is this even? I'm gonna take the shade Tourmaline, the matte black, you already know, and I'm going to put this on my outer corners. Okay, so that is what I'm gonna leave this look at. I'm going to hop off camera, finish up my face, lashes, lips, you know, definitely blend this out a little bit better, and then we'll be back and I'll give you my final thoughts on this palette. Not my final thoughts, my initial like final thoughts of my first impressions. Okay, and so this is the finished look. I did not have it in me to go into the other room and get my jewelry and a change of clothes, so this is how we're ending the video on this day. On my lips, I used the NYX lip liner in Nude Truffle. I put a little bit of Endless Cacao in the center, and then I used my Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb in Fenty Glow, not Diamond Milk. And this is it. Absolutely love it. Green and orange, always a good combination. Could I do this look with other palettes that I have? Probably, but I mean, let's be real. What look couldn't I do with most of my palettes because I have a lot of eyeshadow? Anyway, I mean, in terms of percentage of shades that I use out of this palette, I can only say so much. But the shades that I did use were great and performed like Beauty Beige shadows normally do. I am really excited to dig more into this palette. Like I said, the more I use it, the less I see it as a giant rainbow palette and more of just a giant palette with a lot of shades. But I am really into it so far. I mean, in terms of like, if you were wondering if this palette performs the way other Beauty Beige shadows do, I would say it does. Based on the shades that I've used, it's gonna be up to you whether or not you think this is too big or not worth the money or whatever. I'm pretty sure it was around $45, which is, you know, I feel like on par with the pricing of Beauty Bay normally. And yeah, I mean, like, if you're on this channel watching me, you probably also like eyeshadow. Perhaps you have a lot, maybe you don't. If you don't have a lot of eyeshadow, this will give you a lot of options and a lot of looks. I feel like you could use this palette for like months and months and months and never do the same look twice, which is always an exciting thing, and also something that I would hope if a palette has 42 shades. So, I mean, like, I don't have that much else to say other than it was really fun to use and I can't wait to use it more. I'll probably do maybe a 4 looks one palette with this palette just because there are so many shades and so many things that you could do with it. So that's what I'm thinking of. Everything that I have on my face will be in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you picked this palette up, if you're against it, what are your thoughts on it, because I was against it at first and now I'm into it. And I will hopefully see you in my next video. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.